This observation and inference activity is really fun. Kids get a kick out of it. So here is how it works. First of all, I make sure that together we understand what an observation is and then what an inference is. I have students write the definitions here just so they're very clear that these are two separate actions that we're taking. I then give them a little speech and I start out by saying something like this. I say, hey, students, you guys are just too smart. Your brains work so fast that you make observations and inferences at the same time. So in today's activity, I want you to get a little dumber. I want you to slow your brains down. Think about separating your observations from your inferences. I know you guys are really smart, but today I want you not to be so smart. They love this because you're pumping them up. They know that they already have these innate skills, that their brains do this automatically, and that the main point of this lesson is for them to become aware of what an observation is and then how you can make a logical inference or jump from that data in something more complex than just the activity we're going to do now. So once I've pumped kids up with a little speech, I show them this chart, which you'll see here. There is room for 4 different pictures. I oftentimes just do 1, 2, or 3, depends on the time. And what we do is we're going to make 2 observations first from the photo. And I make sure that I try to slow kids down. I don't let them talk out loud. I don't let them make any exclamations about what they're seeing. I really say, hey, what do you see? What can you observe in this photo? Here's an example photo. Picking good images for this activity is to find something that has innate engagement. For example, this is a picture of a hockey player. A lot of my students are hockey players. And they don't always notice what's weird about the picture. So there really needs to be something that you can observe. Otherwise, it's pretty boring. So some examples of student observations that they could make from this particular photo. There's a person laying down. Students will oftentimes say things like, there's a person laying down on the ice. The important point here for teaching is asking students, how do you know it's ice? You gotta back kids up all the way to where they made the initial observation, because the fact that this possible person is on ice is really an inference. So, good observations here would be, I see 2 people. There is a person laying down. There is a person wearing ice skates. These are good observations. If students start making the leap to inferences right away, walk them backwards till you have, 1, 2, 3, 5 really good observations from a photo like this one. Have students record at least 2 observations here in their data table next to picture number 1. Then give students an opportunity to come up with some inferences and remind them an inference is a logical conclusion based on the observation. It is a conclusion based on the data. So they go back to the picture, and now is when they get to start thinking about what's really going on. Here is another scenario where kids, they struggle. They will come up with inferences like, the person's on the ice. That's okay. But if they've made really good observations, they might even be able to get to more interesting inference. For example, the interesting part about this photo is that, as you can see here, the leg appears to be backwards. When students see that for the first time, they scream and start making comments. If you can get them to the point where they observe that the leg appears to be backwards, the inference that follows from that could then be that the leg is broken. Or perhaps the observation is about this person, and the person is wearing gloves, plastic gloves. So then the inference becomes this person is a medic trying to help the person with the backwards leg who appears to have a broken leg. It's really tricky, but kids love this. They love trying to figure out, well, what did I actually see and what can I conclude from it? Students will record or check their inferences to make sure that they're accurate for this particular image. And then the last part, which is a little bit fun, I have students ask any questions, like if you could know anything about this particular image or scenario, what would you ask? My favorite for this particular image is can I see the x-ray? Because that would let us know for sure what had happened, that indeed this person did break their leg. At the very end of this process, I also ask kids for possible captions for this photo. So I'll usually hide this out for the season part because it gives kids clues about what might be going on in the picture. So I will ask them what caption would you give this photo based on what you've seen, and they'll come up with some fun examples. And then I'll show them the actual caption, which here is out for the season because indeed this particular hockey player is definitely done. As always, students need a little bit more modeling and help the first time you go through this process, but they should, by the end of 3 or 4 images, be able to start doing this on their own and then move into the next activity on this particular lesson, which is solving a mystery using their newfound observation and inference skills.